Welcome to the crypto trading channel. My name is Stu. Well, guys, I wasn't planning on streaming today, but volatility has just picked up tonight. So even though it's late and we probably won't have many people here with us live, I want to check out some of this current volatility as we are seeing some fairly serious rejections on not only Bitcoin, but a handful of altcoins as well. The beautiful part of it, nothing too unexpected. You guys know in yesterday's stream, although I was proceeding with caution, I was very much so wanting to catch some bearish plays as we were entering some major resistance zones, which is exactly what I ended up doing on a few different pairs. But just starting off with Bitcoin on the 4-hour, you guys, you'll remember yesterday I was talking about being in this range between these two white lines here. And so, although obviously I have my even bigger range resistances up even higher, I was saying that we were at least starting to get into my major resistance zones just because that would be the bearish fib pull from this confirmed bearish pivot basically on that trend. So I said to watch out for this resistance here, and basically bang on the 786 is where we're seeing this little bit of a nasty rejection here. And if I bring up the RSI, you can see that the RSI got a nasty bearish divergence as well, right as we ended up hitting that major resistance level. So again, nothing all too crazy there in my opinion, because that is just a typical STUBER fib setup. I mean, that's a typical resistance zone that I would be interested in. So to see it getting rejected on the 4-hour there, not all too unexpected. And something that's interesting as well is yesterday, guys, I was talking about the fact that we're in kind of a risky territory just because on the lower time frames, we were still like even just this immediate trend on the 4-hour, we were still setting higher highs and confirming higher lows. But the lower time frame trend was starting to meet up with the macro trend, right? We're starting to hit that trending resistance zones on the 6-month downtrend kind of a speak. So, but since then, notice that this would have been our last level where we ended up setting. Basically, here's where we had our high and our final higher high there. That was our confirmed higher low, and we have now broke that level, right? So after the shorter time frame trend ended up hitting the larger time frame trending resistance, that's where the lower time frame trend ended up finally breaking here. So obviously it could still end up just reversing, and if we just set another higher high, then that's a great sign of strength there. But so far we're starting to see this weakness on the medium trend basically as we're hitting these major resistance levels. So on top of that, with the weekly, you guys, I had mentioned that now this one, honestly, I have mixed feelings about the weekly right now. I love to see from a bullish perspective that we do have the RSI is a little bit higher since last time we were testing this resistance level here. So that's a bit of a bullish divergence there that, it could be an early sign of strength there. However, I always go by market structure first. Yes, it's a possible sign of strength. I don't want to be completely closed off to that idea. However, we are still facing resistance at this time, and that's all there is to it, basically. So looking at the shorter time frame as well. So this would be that same, that purple fib would be this box here, but on the 5-minute, it's obviously a lot bigger. But notice that we hit that. And once again, just on the lower time frame, we end up losing our range right as we hit the larger resistance, right? The larger time frame resistance, we end up losing that structure on the lower time frame and just absolutely nuke to the downside there. Now, one thing I will say is just looking at the RSI right now on the 5-minute, at least we did, I mean, that's some very extreme oversold conditions there. So it's possible that, hey, maybe we do just reverse this move now. I just want you to understand that resistance is resistance until it's broken. And at this point, just where Bitcoin is on the overall trend, there is so much resistance above us. Now, obviously, if we start breaking some of these levels, yeah, sure, there's still longs, there's still pullbacks that would be willing to long on just playing the trend like that. But basically at this point, we're seeing that weakness at resistance levels. Just unfortunately that this is basically the very start of our major resistance, right? Because above that, this higher up purple box here, that would basically be the resistance of the daily trending Fibonacci pull basically. And if I zoom out to the daily here, you can see that it's because of this 1 day confirmed trending lower high, because we had this low, we got our bounce here, and we got our lower low. So the confirmed lower high on the trend is there at about 79.4K. So that's why I have that fib pulled like that. I am going to erase that fib just to clean things up a little bit, but that's why that higher up purple box and red box are up there, because that's my daily resistance basically. But on the 4 hourly, I mean, as soon as we hit that 786, we're seeing that bit of a rejection. And guys, for those of you who are interested in just seeing way more examples, how I'm looking at market structure, how I'm pulling fibs, some of my trade setups, strategies, warnings, and so on, be sure to scan the QR code to gain access to my private Telegram channel, where I am sharing some of my thoughts on the market in general. Like I said, I was very interested in catching some shorts on this move, and these are the positions that I currently have running. I actually have one long in the mix. That one's kind of doing its own thing. I've been talking about that one on stream recently as well. That's Drift. This guy has been incredibly volatile. I had mentioned that last week. There was a big hack on this network, and it got basically cut in half in a few hours. I mean, this thing has been so volatile both directions that I have been trading it myself. This is one, honestly, guys, I am not comfortable sharing signals of what I'm doing on this one in the Telegram, because for one, the volume's a lot lower. So that alone adds a ton of risk, where if people are using too large of orders or something like that and just market buying, market selling, I mean, slippage can really be a thing on something like this. But as far as me being comfortable with it and just kind of watching things, I've been loving the volatility on this one. And yeah, even like I showed there, just on a 5x, I mean, that's a 85% move there. So this thing's absolutely super volatile, and it's kind of doing its own thing. It doesn't really seem to matter what the market is doing. It's just kind of doing its own thing. So treated that one differently. All my other positions are shorts, but on this one, oddly enough, I am in a long. But and that's just charts being charts, right? As far as Ethereum, getting away from those lower cap coins, let's go into some bigger altcoins here. Ethereum, same thing, right? We had this STUBER fib set up here. We had this obvious pivot up here. And if we pull that bearish fib, notice where we ended up running into trouble here. We basically perfectly filled that STUBER fib box there. My average entry ended up being approximately right in the middle there. And yeah, so far we're seeing a nasty rejection. I've already taken profits on about 20% of this. I'm going to take more if we get to the 0.5 fib, and I'll be taking more at the 214 fib as any typical STUBER fib. But already have my stop loss and a profit on these ones, and just a small profit basically to pay fees and stuff like that. But basically, when I'm entering positions like this, like I said, I think things are quite dangerous, just because, you know, the lower time frame trends have been so strong to the upside, but it's meeting up with the macro trend, which is to the downside. So there's a lot of uncertainty at these levels, and that's why I'm kind of treating every position recently as basically starting it as a scalp. And then if the remainder of the position turns into a runner, fantastic, right? I'm just looking at protecting myself more than I am at being greedy at these levels. But I'm still just trading the charts for what they are, though. I don't know if anything has happened in the headlines. I don't know if there's been any escalations around the world, anything like that. I honestly have no idea. I was just playing video games, watching the charts on my other monitor, and saw volatility kicking in and figured that I would hop in and stream here with you guys. So if you guys do appreciate that and you love looking at the charts for what they are and not so much the headlines, you just want to actually trade the charts that we have in front of us and focusing on market structure, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Solana's another one. This one had an absolutely nasty rejection here. Just another typical STUBER fib here. I haven't even actually looked out to the 4 hourly, but just on the 5 minute, when I zoomed out, had this nice structure here, basically just another typical bearish fib. Being the whole market's kind of at resistance, I was willing to stab at that, and that one just absolutely dumped off a cliff there. So love to see it. Just all of these positions, guys, obviously when they've had this big of moves, I've been taking profits on all of them, and all of my stop losses are at break even, just because at this point, I mean, when you get such a nice move that fast like that, why would I want to give all those gains back, right? I would, at this point, I don't want to take a loss on them at the very least. I want to at least lock in some scalping profits. And if they continue running and we actually see these big 4-hour moves, like if Ethereum is going to make it all the way down towards the main STUBER target, the 214 fib, that's where we're getting closer to 2030 US dollars, right? So that's still quite a drop. That's damn near $200. That's about a 10% drop to the downside yet, if we are going to see that from where we are right now. Yeah, about an 8% drop, something like that. And then obviously same with Bitcoin, right? That's why the title of the video saying 67K possible. That's because with this bearish STUBER fib, if we end up hitting the 214 target, that would be approximately 67K, a little bit higher. And I would generally front run that anyways. But the reason for that 214 fib is it's basically the opposite 786. Right. So if I pulled a bullish fib from the bottom of our range to where we have topped out so far, notice that the 786 is actually sitting around 66.8K. So again, kind of around that 67K. The bearish target just slightly front runs the bullish support zone, basically. So that's why I think that it's very possible that we end up hitting 67K. Obviously, it doesn't have to happen. And as well, guys, it's very possible maybe we just hit the first target, right? Maybe we hit the 0.5. Maybe we don't even hit that. But at this point, it sure looks like that's a very valid possibility. Just the fact that we did, like I said, lost this uptrend on the 4-hour here. So something to notice there. Hype is another one that, as I mentioned in the screenshots there, have a short position open on that. Again, average entry, nothing too surprising here for you guys who have been on these live streams with me a lot recently and in my Telegram and stuff like that. This should not come as a surprise. In yesterday's live stream, I actually mentioned I was going to be taking this short. I laid it out exactly in the VIP Telegram with my entries, how I was breaking up the laddered positions and just kind of going more into detail. But even on yesterday's stream, I mentioned that I was basically planning to ladder into a short, something like this. And so far, I mean, here's my targets, right? I have everything mapped out. And that's the beautiful thing about trading with fibs, guys. Just a systematic trade strategy like this is because when I pull a fib like that, it really takes that gambler's mentality out of it, right? I have my entries lined up. I have my take profit targets lined up. I have my invalidation. From there, it's just kind of choosing my own exact entries and etc. Because on my targets, I'm always front running my targets a little bit. And on the stop loss, it's the opposite. I leave a little extra room from my invalidation, basically. But that's exactly how I laid that one out. I actually have 2 more orders up in this red box if we would end up going to the upside. This is the one trade that I haven't adjusted my stop loss on yet, just because it hasn't hit my first target, and because this one is laid out as just a low leverage. I was looking at this as a 4-hour swing position more so than a scalp, so I'm willing to let that one ride out so far. I might change my opinion before I go to sleep or something like that. Zcash, I had mentioned this one in yesterday's stream. Someone asked me to look at it actually, and we did end up getting that 5-minute STUBER fib entry that I had mapped out. I was more interested. I had mentioned that it's not actually overly bearish because we have this high and this higher high. So I had mentioned that there was this potential bullish scenario as well. But being how the market looks the way it does, is this bullish one going to play out? I'm not so sure. Either way, the lower time frame bearish one also played out, but I'm personally not trading Zcash myself. That was just an altcoin request yesterday. So, and Drift, I've been really liking trading using the Oracle Pro Plus indicator on this one as Confluence as well. Although the STUBER fibs have even been playing out as well, just to show you a good example of how even these lower volume coins very much so still just respect basic market structure, right? I mean, here you can see it. We had a high here. We had a higher high here. There's our confirmed higher low on the trend. And if we pull a fib from that point up to where we topped out there, notice where we ended up getting our bounce right in the STUBER fib pocket there. Let me even turn off that indicator, make it more clear, and just notice how well that played out, right? First target, second target, and depending if you wanted to use that double top as the third target or not, either way, at least the first two targets there played out beautifully. So you even see it on these lower volume coins as well. See them in all sorts of shapes and sizes. All sorts of different time frames too, right? I mean, when I look at market structure, it's all the same, whether it's the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, daily, weekly. I always look at market structure the same. It just obviously takes a lot longer to play out as you zoom out to larger time frames. Troll pulling back a little bit. Like I'd mentioned yesterday, I had a crazy breakout, pumped about 80% yesterday. Wild. Yeah, very cool to see so much volatility in the market right now. Usually on the weekends, we haven't really been seeing that volatility come in until like a few hours before the weekly candle close. So this is actually quite early for the volatility to be kicking in like this, in my opinion. How are you all feeling about the market? Do you think this is it? It's back to full-on bear market on? Do you think this is just a healthy retracement and we're going to go much higher? How do you guys feel? And guys, once again, if you do appreciate my level-headed approach, just looking at charts for what they are, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Obviously, there's not a ton of people live with us right now. It's pretty late, especially for most people over in the West, you know, in the Americas. It's not so late right now, maybe, but across the pond, it is probably early morning, if anything. So definitely not my regular stream time, but like I said, volatility was picking up and I just wanted to check it out. So oh, Vance came out with some Iran news, did he? Yeah, I haven't checked any headlines. I haven't seen any posts or anything. I couldn't tell you, but I just assume there's something to do with Iran that's going to be in the media with the market dumping like this. And although, yes, it is crazy how much it seems like market manipulation, it's also funny that it happens at those basic technical analysis levels anyways, right? So like I see a lot of people who say that, you know, right now is different. Right now, the headlines are actually moving the price. Yeah, they always do though, right? They always do. It's just that you don't trade them. And that hasn't changed because anyone who has early inside information, I mean, well, we don't, right? Any announcement we hear, we do not hear it first. So although fundamentals and headlines and stuff, it's true, they do move the market. But again, trading them is incredibly difficult. So if those headlines and those announcements and posts, if they actually do matter, you're going to see market structure verify that, right? If something seriously bearish happened, well, we had that structure break, right? We have not broken a lower high since we broke this higher low, right? Ever since, because this would have been our next low. That would have basically confirmed this as our bearish pivot. This would have been our lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high is way up here, right? So all of this is not setting higher highs as far as the trend goes for me. Basically, this is our lower high way up here at about 73.1K. Currently, I mean, that can change, right? If let's say the price does something like this, if we set a new lower low, then I can drop this guy to the highest point between the two, but we just don't have that structure yet. So we haven't confirmed anything as a new lower high. But the RSI is climbing. I wouldn't be surprised to see us see it do some sort of a bounce. It's just I like to have those structure confirmations before I take positions. Yeah, looking like a bearish engulfing candle here. Now, one thing that I will mention though is at least we do have this order block here still as potential support. Now, the actual block, I would say actually the candle body, something like that. But basically, if the price can end up holding above this, right, or at least inside or above this yellow box, then not all hope is lost yet. On the daily, we would have to lose that. If we lose that and then flip that support into resistance, yeah, that could be a rough warning. That could be a rough time. I mean, depending how you're positioned, obviously. Yeah, even just looking for trend lines. Obviously, everybody has their own opinion about diagonal trend lines, but even one like that, I mean, we have 3 exact touch points there, and then we have lost it. But that could still hold true even if we did a bounce and retested it for some sort of a double top like that. That would make sense too. But yeah, there's just a lot of warnings here that we are starting to be at some major resistance, and just seeing the lower time frame show weakness at those major levels. That's just a little bit concerning. Not for me. I'm happy to go either way. Honestly, I do not care which way this market goes. Yeah, I would love to see us go into a full-on bull market. I would love to see us go parabolic because yeah, obviously that would be great for my spot bags and my investments in general. But as far as trading, I really don't care which way this market goes. And being I'm bullish on the long term, and I'm actually bullish on crypto, specifically Bitcoin. But the fact that I'm actually bullish on the asset rather than just the price, I don't care if it continues going down. I will use shorting profits to buy more for cheaper if the price goes down. So I really don't care. I'm not in this game of trading to hold lottery tickets. I'm in it to trade the volatility. So when I see moves like this, I mean, I'm just excited right now because, like I said, I've got myself into several nice positions right now. If it crashes, I thrive. That's excellent to hear. Because obviously anybody can do well in a bull market. If everything's just going straight up, yeah, everyone feels like a genius. But when you can actually make money to the downside, that's when you know that you have an actual edge on the market, right? And obviously, if you're just YOLOing short constantly, that's no good either. But if you're actually able to adjust your opinion based on market structure and being able to handle if things go bearish, that's a very good level-headed approach, in my opinion. That's just a good mindset to have, being able to look at things from either scenario, right? And that's the thing too. A lot of people, when they sit in on streams and you say like, hey, the price could go up to this resistance, it could go down to this support, a lot of people see that as you're saying it could go up or down. You have no idea what you're talking about. Well, anyone who says that has no idea what they're talking about, because every trader knows that you are basically looking for your probable setups, right? So it really, analysis is one thing. Analysis is just so that you can look for those setups to come to you. And when they happen, you know how you're going to act, right? Analysis does not mean that, hey, you should be able to hop into the chart at absolutely any minute and say, we're going up from here or we're going down from here. That's not how trading works. It is, laying out your back tested strategy that works for you, that you have winning probabilities on, and waiting for those setups. So that's why in general, usually I am always looking at resistance and support, right? Like obviously I have my major support levels laid out down here as well, right? And that doesn't mean that we have to come down here, right? It's not like saying, oh, support is down here, therefore I am not willing to adjust my opinion and I am not buying anything until down here. No, it doesn't work that way either, right? It's more so that, hey, here's some support levels. If we get down there, I need to start considering the possibility of this being a buy zone. That's all. Just like up here. Hey, if we get up here, we need to start being careful and start considering that this is a bit of a sell zone, right? And unfortunately, the unfortunate truth is even if we break through this one, we still have a hell of a lot of resistance above. That's what happens when you're in a nasty 6-month downtrend, though. A lot of people like to say that the bottom is confirmed because we had some of this nice price action. When I say nice price action, I mean just this big volatile range here, but we never did break any of the trending resistance on the 4-hour or higher, right? Like my chart has mapped out here, the confirmed lower high on the trend is at 77K. And on the daily, that's way up at 79.4K. On the weekly, it's way up at 98K, right? So as we zoom out, the major resistance just goes significantly higher. That's just because it's been that long of a downtrend, right? That's what happens in bear markets. Resistance forms. Liquidity heat maps. There is one that I look at sometimes here. On the 4-hour, yeah. So here is a liquidations heat map. So another thing that I was actually mentioning the other day was that basically one thing to consider with a map like this is obviously there is liquidity on either side of us, right? So yes, it makes sense that whichever the way the market maker wants to take it from here, there is technically liquidity both directions, right? We have a whole bunch above us, but we do have even more below us. And one thing to consider with this is the stuff below us is more so the gold bars, these yellow bars. That's the high leverage liquidations. That's the 50x, 100x liquidations. Whereas all the blue up here is lower leverage, which we do have a bunch of that below as well. But I would say that there is significantly more liquidity to the downside from the looks of this heat map here. On the daily, you don't see it near as much. What about the hourly? Yeah, the hourly, same thing. Looks like significantly more liquidations below us. And since we lost the uptrend, I wouldn't be too surprised to see the market maker want to grab a bunch of that liquidity. Obviously doesn't have to happen. I would never trade based on that alone, but it makes me comfortable trying to hold on to my shorts as long as I can right now, basically, why I'm leaving my stop losses at break even on a couple of positions, because I think it is very possible that the market ends up getting pushed to the downside to clear some of that liquidity. CME gap formed at 73.4. I think there's a few CME gaps. I thought there was one above 90K still. What is it? CME. What is it? What is the ticker for the CME chart again? I'm drawing a blank right now. Still a little stuffed up. starting to sound a little more normal, I think, but been a rough week. Been sick as hell this week, you guys. Getting better, though. BTC one, that's what it was, not CME one. Yeah, there we go. That looks more gooder. Why do I recall one being way up higher? Maybe not. Yeah. Not going to spend too much time looking for them. That's one that I don't typically look at that chart all too much. I do look at it sometimes. But I always just typically, for me, it comes back to market structure. Although those gaps do typically fill. I still just have such a systematic approach with fibs that I really don't look at too much else for the most part. Anyways, guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. Yeah, I just really wanted to check out this volatility more than anything. Just kind of warn you guys that, yeah, you know, a lot of coins are at some very major resistance levels. And like I mentioned in yesterday's stream, this is exactly what I was talking about yesterday. The reasoning why I wanted to get myself into some shorts, even though I was taking caution and very quickly updating my risk management, you know, removing risk off my positions quickly, taking partial profits quickly. This is exactly what I was looking for, right? A nice aggressive rejection off those major resistance levels on the longer time frames. So I'm hoping that those positions do turn into some runners. Obviously, we will see. Have to see what happens from here, but I have removed my risk off of all of them basically, except for hype, as I mentioned earlier, because I'm looking at that as more of a swing, just how I prepared myself for that one. So leaving it for now, but all my other positions risk off. So it's a good position to be in. And yeah, but anyways, if you appreciate these market updates and my level-headed approach, just looking at the live analysis and the charts for what it is, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And just as a reminder for those who are interested in just seeing more of my thoughts on the market and you just want to check out my private Telegram channel, seeing more of my ideas, some of my trade setups, just how I'm looking at market structure in general, scan the QR code. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Thank you so much for watching once again for this real late night live stream here. Appreciate you all. Have a fantastic rest of your evening. Peace out.